You are listening to the Cresco Wealthcast, a podcast brought to you by Cresco Wealth Management of Wellington Altus Private Wealth. I'm your host, Dimitri Korolis, and I wanted to bring a podcast from the world of wealth that was really just easy to follow. And from time to time, I'm going to be bringing in members of the team. We'll be bringing in external guests and really providing some good information that are inspired from those coffee talk conversations that not just we're having, but that you're having as well. You can follow the podcast on www.cresco.podbean.com, or if you're on Spotify, you can just search for the Cresco Wealthcast. And last but not least, please do not forget to subscribe to my channel on Instagram, which is at The Finance Greek. And welcome again to the Cresco Wealthcast. Very exciting today. We have a guest in, Christianne Murphy from Brownlee LLP. So for those that are accustomed and those that don't know, when it comes to wealth management, is a very multifaceted, multi-level look-in that we do for our clients and prospective clients alike. And estate planning and planning in general is a huge part of it. We can't stress it enough. Today we're going to be talking about estate planning for young families. Along with Christianne Murphy, that I'll introduce and let her introduce herself, a little further. We also brought in Wayne Boer, some of you know on the team and don't know, senior financial planner for Cresco Wealth Management. So Christianne, I'll let you do the intro of intros. Tell us a little bit about yourself, the firm, and the area of expertise when it comes to estate planning.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Christianne Murphy. I work at Brownlee LLP. It's a mid-sized Alberta firm with multiple departments, but I work in the Wills and Estates practice group, and I do estate planning. I particularly enjoy focusing on young families because everything's so happy and there's often new babies and everyone's excited. So that's kind of what we're here to talk about today.
I like that. And so we could go down the rabbit hole of how many areas and things that people should be looking in. And for the sake of the podcast, and Wayne and I talked about this earlier, saying we might have to do a few of these because it's such a vast topic. But we're going to touch on a few things like guardianship, certain financial concerns, trusts, and really wherever the conversation goes. So maybe why don't we start with the guardianship side of things? And often these are difficult conversations to have, but what are some considerations that we should be thinking about in terms of this topic?
Yeah, so guardianship can be a really challenging topic to broach because often parents have different ideas about what they think is important in a guardian. Unsurprisingly, mom often wants her parents to be the guardian, dad wants his parents to be the guardian, and it can be really difficult managing all of those different factors. So I've actually developed a process to help weight those factors for what's important to each parent, and it's a really good guide, I suppose, for talking through the factors that are important, such as practical factors like proximity of the guardian's home, the adequacy of the living space, their age and health, through to emotional factors like stability and the emotional availability of the guardian, and the bond that the child already has with the guardian. Of course, there are financial considerations in terms of the guardian's financial stability and ability to support additional dependents. But it's important to remember that as long as you've got your financial plan in order, then there should be money to help with that. But I'll let you guys talk about that more in a bit. But the final kind of category that I like to think about is personal values and whether your personal values align with the values of the potential guardian in terms of any religious values or education values, and just really making sure that you're finding the best possible fit for the best interest of your child, because the truth is that nobody can replace you, but you can do your best to ensure that they're well taken care of in the unlikely event that anything happens to you.
Yeah. Do you find, as I'm listening to you hit all of these points, I'm going back to the beginning, do you find that it's a matter of no one's really talking about it. It's this weird faux pas table conversation that you think families would be comfortable having, but then when you get to the table, you say, "Oh my goodness, there's an awkwardness around that." Is that part of the biggest barrier?
Yes, I'd say that is a really big barrier. Another barrier when we start getting into deeper into the conversations and the practical issues of age, often grandparents are not the best choice if they're older, because you've got to think about they're taking care of this child till they're 18. What age are they going to be at that stage? Are they going to still have capacity to do that? So often people, once they start thinking about it, decide that actually maybe the aunt or uncle of the children or even a close family friend is actually a better fit for the role. But it's a difficult conversation to bring up with someone, whether they're your parents or your friends or another family member. It's really a delicate matter to get into, and I can certainly help with that. We've developed a one-page PDF that clients can send to potential guardians, just as a kind of gentle way of opening the door to say, "Hey, my lawyer sent me this PDF. I was thinking about it. You have a lot of these qualities. Would you be open to a conversation about this more?" And then when you have the actual meeting to talk about it, just make sure that you have them in a good environment where they're comfortable. Make sure that you've done some serious reflection and preparation to be able to articulate the reasons why you think they would be a good fit for that. And then express your intentions and the reasons behind them. So obviously you love your children and care about their well-being, and let the potential guardian know why you believe that they would be the best fit for taking care of that child. If they're seeming receptive to it, then you can get into outlining what the responsibilities would be and addressing any of their concerns. But it's an important matter to give them time to reflect on. And I think it's best when there's no immediate push, although that's a balancing act because you don't want it to take forever to get the estate plan done. But, don't ask then and there, "I need an answer this moment." That's a big no-no.
Yeah, I guess sometimes when I'm talking with families about this, guardianship can be a stumbling block in making that decision. And sometimes they ask me, well, what does this person need to do? So Christianne, can you tell me, what's the job description of a guardian? It's easy for us to think, I'm going to appoint a family member. If I pass away, my child is going to live with them. Is that what do they have to do from that point forward? What does that process look like becoming a guardian for somebody?
So guardianship takes effect upon the death of the parent. So the will, from that moment, the will speaks to the next steps. So the guardian has the authority to take care of the child at that point. Practically speaking, they'll need to get a court order in order for other parties to take them seriously, like the school or traveling or anything like that. So the process, it can be kind of complicated to navigate. I definitely would recommend that anybody who finds themselves in that position reaches out for some legal assistance. But you don't have to take on the role of the guardian just because you're named in the will. You can refuse that, but I would also suggest that if you think that that's a potential for you, then you let those parents know while there's still a chance to change their will, because once they're gone, it's, you've lost your chance to voice that.
Have you seen that happen before where someone gets blindsided? I mean, we've seen it with beneficiaries. Someone says, "Yeah, I'm naming my beneficiaries for said accounts in the will." You've seen that before where all of a sudden you have a guardian, "Oh, I didn't know that."
Well, I've had clients who have refused to tell the guardians that they're being named as guardians Fortunately, those parents are still alive, so like hopefully they'll never need to act. But I stress to them, you really need to tell your guardians this. They're my clients, so I have confidentiality to not tell their guardian. But I worry that if something happens to that person, their guardians are going to think, what? No, and that's really an unfair position to put your children in.
Unbelievable. Yeah, it just came to me. I think it was 9 minutes. We got into the juicy stuff.
Yeah.
Right? We got into the details. All right.
So let's say I'm appointing my parents as a guardian for my child. My parents, they're empty nesters, all that stuff. Like, do they then have to have my kids move in with them? Like, can they provide guardianship, guidance while having my kids live with cousins who live in the area, things like that? Like do practically, because some people, they retire, they downsize, they've moved to their 1 or 2 bedroom condo. Now they've got maybe a couple grandkids that need to come live with them. That's a huge lifestyle change. Like, practically, what could that look like in that situation, Christianne?
So there are a couple of ways that we usually deal with that. Often the parents will have a discussion with the guardians in advance to say, we hope that you would come and move into our house, or we would expect that the children would live with you, and we will put aside X amount of dollars in the will to go to you for improvements on your house if you need to build an extension or buy a bigger car or whatever you need to do to change the lifestyle to be able to take care of the children.
And so the estate will provide funds to guardians for those sorts of things, even though there may not be directly for the children, but it's improving a home that they're going to live in, and so that's an acceptable thing for one's estate to do.
Yeah, so you can do that. You absolutely don't have to. A lot of people don't do that. It depends on your resources and what your financial constraints are. I've had clients who have said, this money goes to the guardian. They don't have to account for it. They can keep it. And others who have said, move into my house. That house is still eventually going to be the property of the children once it's sold and the money divided between the children. It can go however you want to plan it. You can do it that way.
Okay. That's good to know. Christianne, one of the things we see a lot with families now is just the traditional nuclear family. People get married, stay married their entire lives. It's changed. So we'll often see blended families. We'll see divorce situations. We'll see situations where maybe one parent is not really part of a child's life anymore. That can be a really tough thing to plan for. What are some things you see to work around that, or how would you advise maybe a parent who's trying to do estate planning for themselves and their child's partners or their former partner, the child's parent, is just not in the picture anymore? Does that surviving parent automatically have guardianship rights? If that was me, could I put something in my will a little bit differently? How do we plan for that?
So under Alberta law, this is governed by the Family Law Act and the Child, Youth and Family Enhancement Act. And essentially, you are allowed to assign your guardianship rights to someone other than the other parent. But the court will always look at what's in the best interest of the child. And if they feel that it's in the best interest of the child to spend all of their time with the remaining parent, then that's what they'll do. They'll take what you've put into your will. They'll take that into consideration, but the ultimate defining factor is the best interest of the child, looking at things like the child's needs, the nature of the relationship with the guardian, the ability of the guardian to meet the child's needs, any history of family violence, stuff like that. There is a notification requirement. If you are wishing to appoint a guardian other than the biological parent, then they must be provided an opportunity to object. And that can get very contentious and nasty, obviously. But it is possible to do.
Yeah. Assuming that the parent is still in the child's life, though, and it's a healthy relationship at that point, like, how does a parent make sure that if I pass away, the child still sees their grandparents. Like, is there still access from grandparents to a grandchild if the parent passes away, even in a healthy relationship?
I think if there's a healthy relationship, then you would be it would be a good idea to have an open conversation with the other parent and say the kinds of things that you're hoping and expecting. Obviously, once you're passed, you're not there to speak anymore. But in terms of the grandparents trying to seek custody of that child, again, it would be open to the court to look at the best interests of the child.
Okay, thanks.
And so for all of those listening, stay with us. Keep on the thread, because we're going to talk about the other topics that we brought in. But Christianne, thank you for your time on this particular topic here. Before we sign off, is there something that we need to know? Is there something that clients need to know as a send-off to say, I have to leave you with this to really resonate, outside of all the great information?
Yes, I guess I would just stress that it's really important to take care of this sooner rather than later. Chances are you'll be fine, but you just never really know what's coming. And I have seen too many times where people had best intentions of creating an estate plan, but just haven't gotten around to it. And until something goes wrong or it's too late, and you just don't want to find yourself in that position. So I've developed this process to try and help with some of those stumbling blocks, especially for young families. And I'd be happy to chat to anyone who's interested in exploring that. I try to make it as painless as possible. And I would love to hear from anyone.
And I just want to leave as well that if you did want the PDF, that one-pager PDF on the Guardians, you're more than welcome to reach out to Christianne. You're more than welcome to reach out to us as well. We can help provide that for all of those that want that information. Thank you so much.
Thank you.